This video shows you how to use your scroll saw to make a wooden box without using any sort of a plan. While this project uses a heart shape, you could use any shape you like to make a box of similar design. So you don't need to buy a plan on the internet or find one for free or get one from a friend. This is something that you can make uniquely your own. I start with some 1.5 inch timber and some 1/4 inch timber. This happens to be an old piece of Oregon that I salvaged from the next door neighbour's pergola. This isn't the best sort of timber to work with, but it was good enough to prove the process. I simply cut a square on the drop saw and then cut a couple of pieces of 1/4 inch the same size. You can see that I've got 2 1/4 inch pieces and one 1.5 inch piece. So on one of the 1/4 inch pieces, I'm simply going to draw the outline of the shape of the box that I want. And in this instance, I'm using a heart shape. I'm no artist, but even I can make a heart shape. Now in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to draw a small heart. This is going to be used as the key that holds the lid from sliding. You'll see this later. I'm designing this box so that the lid slides on sideways, and then the small heart is the key that holds the lid from sliding. So I'm just going to draw a line across the heart for where I'm going to put a drill hole and then insert a dowel. I'm using 1/2 inch dowel, and I'm just going to mark where I'm going to drill. You can see that the dowel stands a bit proud from the face. Mark the centre of the circle with your awl so that your drill finds a spot. Clamp a scrap piece of wood to the front of the centrepiece so that when you drill the hole will be drilling slightly into the scrap as well as your centrepiece of wood. Here's a little hint. Make sure that the depth of your square is small enough to enable you to drill right through it with your drill. With the hole drilled right through, I can now do a test insert of the dowel. Yep, that feels good. So I can take my scrap off, throw that away. Now I cut my dowel to the size of the square, and I use tape right around the outsides because I don't want the dowel to pivot, because the next thing I'm going to do is sand that face of the dowel down to the face of the centrepiece of wood. Now I need to run a line of glue along the piece of dowel and then put the face down onto the centrepiece and hold it until it's dried. Now tape the front piece to the centrepiece. The clear box tape is not only good for keeping the two pieces together, but it also lubricates the blade and helps to stop it burning. because this is quite thick timber. I drill a hole in the top of the small heart to insert my blade to cut the heart shape out. Because of the thickness of the timber, I need to use a 332 drill to be able to get right through this thickness of wood. But it's okay because I've made a feature out of that hole rather than try to cover it up. When you take out the small heart, obviously the front bit is still separate, so now you need to just glue the front piece to the centre piece to make the key. Grab your back piece and now tape the back piece to the other two pieces, because we're going to cut out the outside heart shape next. Because I'm now cutting through 2 inches of timber, I'm using a number 12 blade, and I've got my scroll saw set to the fastest speed. With the outside shape cut, you can see how that the top now slides off sideways, and now I can draw my inside pieces. I've actually got a number of boxes inside my outside box, but you can decide whether you want to do that or not. Here are all the pieces cut out of the centre piece of wood. The next step is to glue the back onto the centre piece. Of course, the back piece was already cut out as part of the process of cutting the outside shape. The next box obviously fits inside the first box. I'm going to cut the base by simply holding it on a piece of wood and tracing around the inside, because I'm going to insert the base inside this box. But I'm not going to glue it in quite yet. Because I've now got a 1/4 inch base inside my second box, my third box is going to sit up above the line. So I'm going to put my base in the front of the box, just so that I've got a depth there. And then I'm going to put my next box in with the face down, and simply mark with a pencil how much I have to take off the back so that it still sits flat when it's inserted. With that done, I can glue in the base of my second box and then test to see that my third box is still level and that my lid still fits on properly. Yep, that looks good. No worries. Now I go through the same process with my fourth box, marking out how much I need to take off the back, and then I can insert the base inside the box. With all the boxes completed, we give a final hand sand before we do the finishing off. Let's do a final assembly to make sure everything looks good and that the top still slides on properly. Yep, that looks pretty good. And the last thing is we slide in the key, and that stops the lid from sliding off. After applying whatever finish you like, we can now see that we can take out the key, slide off the lid. One-handed, it's a little bit more difficult. And then we can take out each box in turn. And as I said at the beginning, this process could be applied to absolutely any shape that you like. Whether you freehand draw it or you find a picture in a book and start with that outside picture, it really doesn't matter. There's no excuse for not being able to make a really good looking box for someone that you love. Or even just someone that you want to suck up to. Off you go. Go and make your own box now.